Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Faster Law webinar series. Today, we're going to be covering episode 11, Maximize Your Clio Efficiency. As always, I'm your host, Andrew Suter, and I'll be guiding you through today's webinar. I provide direct support for Faster Law. I've mentioned this a couple times in previous webinars. I'm aware I talk kind of fast sometimes. I try to dial it back, but if I talk too fast and I lose you or you have questions or need clarification on something, anything that comes up, feel free to type questions into the chat box at the bottom of your window there. Type it in at any time, and then at the end I will come back and answer any questions that have popped up in there. So let me know and I'll answer your questions. But again, today is episode 11, Maximize Your Clio Efficiency. So basically what I wanted to cover, most of you should probably understand that Faster Suite is designed to really streamline your processes, make things faster and easier in Clio. So most of you probably know about Faster Drive, Faster Mail, Faster Time, what those ones do. Those are our main features. So you're probably all aware of what those things can do to help you out. But there are a lot of things in Faster Suite that a lot of firms are not aware of, and so I just wanted to kind of shed some light on those things. I know that most firms are pretty busy and don't really have time to explore new software and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to kind of highlight some things here. There are a ton of features in Faster Suite that you might not be aware of, and a lot of them are just kind of niche features that some firms will find really, really useful and use all the time, but a lot of firms won't have any use for. For example, split billing. Not everyone splits bills. If your firm splits bills, that would be really useful, but probably not useful, widely enough to cover in something like this, at least today. So what I've done is picked out some of our more widely applicable, I guess, minor features that I wanted to cover, but we do have a ton of other things in Faster Suites. So if you don't see anything useful today, definitely check out our training video library. It's located under Help on the ribbon at the top of the screen, and you can just click on this Training Videos button here. We've got tons of minor features that are all useful in one way or another. So definitely just go to our Training Videos page, browse through there, see if there's anything that looks useful. All of our videos are like 2 to 3 minutes long and give you just kind of a broad overview of what that feature does. So definitely check that out if you want to see what else Faster Suite has to offer. But today I've just kind of picked out a few things that are kind of universally applicable or can be used by most firms, I guess I should say. So the first thing we're going to cover is hyperlinks and virtual folders. These are things that are created by Faster Drive to just kind of get you where you're going or streamline certain processes just to shave a few seconds off of things here and there. Next, I'm going to cover the Save Plus buttons. Both the hyperlinks and virtual folders and the Save Plus buttons, these are things that if you're not sure what they do, you probably actually see them every day and just don't even think about them or don't know what they do, and you just kind of scan over them when you're looking for whatever you do. But all of them, when you see them, you'll probably say, oh yeah, I have seen those there. So I'm going to show you what those do. The Save Plus buttons are just ways to piggyback different entries off each other. Like you can create a time entry and then create a note that's related to that time entry, and then create a task off of that note, etc. But after those things, I'm going to cover Faster Scan. This one isn't one that pops out and you see it regularly. It's something that you have to kind of configure a little bit. So this one you might not be aware of, but it's useful for scanning documents directly into Clio. And then I'm going to cover Click to Call. Click to Call is a feature that we've designed for firms that use any sort of voice over IP telephony solution. Basically, it allows you to configure a script that will it'll run when you click on a phone number in Clio, basically, and just automatically dial the number and call that person. So I'll cover that. And then kind of related to that is our meeting transcriber, which will record audio that runs into or out of your computer. And then it'll just transcribe whatever whatever is said in that audio into a Word document so you can read through it. So that can be used for phone calls if you're using a VoIP, or it could be used if you just set up like a microphone and you're having a meeting with someone, it'll record that audio as well. So really useful for not having to take notes. But let's go ahead and jump into the first part here, hyperlinks and virtual folders. So to show you what these are, I'm just going to go ahead and open up Faster Drive by clicking the Show Files button up top. And So for hyperlinks, this is what I'm talking about here. This link that says Open Clio. This doesn't actually exist in Clio. It's not a file, but it's something that Faster Drive has added just to, kind of quickly get you where you're going. So if I click on that link, it actually opens up Clio in another window here. So it can be useful sometimes, but that's not the only hyperlink that we have. If we go to different folders, different hyperlinks will appear. So for example, if I go into one of my status folders here and I go all the way to the bottom, we'll see we have one for create a new matter in Clio. So that just does exactly what it sounds like. If we click on that one, it'll open up Clio to the new matter like creation screen. If I go into a client folder, we'll see a couple of links here. One is create a new matter in Clio. That'll open up that same create a matter screen, except it'll put this client in for the client for that matter. And then there's view this client in Clio, which will just take you to the client page in Clio. Now, if I go into a matter folder, we've got a view this matter in Clio link, but the different ones that we have here are email links. So you'll see here I have email the client. And if I click on this link, it actually opens up an email and it pulls the client's email address out of Clio. So you can just really quickly start an email to this client from Faster Drive. If you're working on documents, you need to email them, you can just click that link and it'll pull this up. Now, one thing about this is you'll see it adds this number into the subject line. This is Clio's internal matter ID number. So it's not going to be, I guess you won't recognize it as anything. It's just kind of an ambiguous number that Clio uses to identify matters. The reason that this link puts that number in there is to help with faster mail. So if faster mail finds this number in this format in an email subject, it will know what matter that email is related to. So I could send this email, and when the preservation screen pops up, it would automatically have that matter selected. So that's why this is useful. You can delete all this other stuff out, but I would recommend leaving the CMID number in there if you use these links. Now, as far as hyperlinks go, those are the ones that are turned on by default, but we have a couple of other email links that we can turn on. So to get to our hyperlinks and manage which ones we want to see, we just go to our settings, which is under Faster Suite settings. And we're going to go to Cloud Drive on the left-hand side and then shortcuts across the top. So all of these ones should be turned on by default, but these last two are not. And they're email links for contact custom fields. So if you have a matter where you have like an insurance adjuster and you have a custom field for that, and you have a contact saved to that field, then you would see a link here that says email the insurance adjuster, and it would pull up an email using that contact's email address. We also have them for matter relationships. So if you have related contacts on a matter, you can create email links for those as well, just by checking those boxes and hitting save in settings. You can also turn off any of those other links if you don't think they're useful and they're just kind of cluttering up your Cloud Drive. Go ahead and turn them off here. Again, it's Cloud Drive on the left, shortcuts across the top. The other part of point one here is virtual folders. And I'm going to briefly cover client files. This isn't really an efficiency thing, but since we're about to cover the other virtual folders, I do just want to touch on it here. This client files folder, which again is Cloud Drive on the left-hand side in settings, and then client files across the top. If we check this box and hit save, we will find a new folder created in Faster Drive. So this will be at the client level. So if I go to Aaron Aronson here, we have this new folder here that says client files. And this is where we can save things that are related to the client, but not necessarily a matter. What it's actually linked to is the documents tab in Clio for the client. So in Clio, there are multiple places to store documents, and there's a documents tab under matters, but there's also a documents tab for contacts, and that's what this is linked to. So if you have anything like that that's related to a contact, like maybe a photocopy of a driver's license or something like that, something that's just related to the contact, you can save it here in the client files folder. Again, not really an efficiency thing, but I did just want to mention it there. I'm going to go ahead and turn this folder off. But as far as efficiency goes, the next virtual folder is our notes folder. So the next tab across the top, notes, we've got a couple of boxes here that we can check. So show the Clio notes folder inside of contacts and inside of matters. I'm going to go ahead and check both of these. What this folder does is it allows you to view entries on the Notes tab in Clio right through Faster Drive. So if I go to Aaron Aronson now, since I've checked that box for show the Clio Notes folder inside of contacts, we'll see this folder here that says Client Notes. And if I click into that one, this will show us all notes related to this contact as a .txt file. So if I open this up, this is actually a note from Clio. And just to show you here, I'm going to go ahead and, you know what, let's do this. I'm going to use our view this client in Clio hyperlink. And that opened up over here. So if I go to notes, we'll see that we have one here that says loves to burn stuff. This guy is nuts. That's what we get right here. So this is just kind of an easier way to view notes right from FasterDrive. We can also, inside here in the notes folder, if we create a new text file, this will actually create a note in Clio. The subject of the note would be the name of the text file. And then if we open it up and add some content here, that'll be the actual note. So that's another easy way of just creating notes in Clio that other people can see. So client notes is going to show up here under the client folder. But then if we go into a matter, then we'll have this client notes here for the matter. And this would show us notes that are related to this matter specifically. So it's those same notes because all of the ones for this contact are from this matter. But basically that's what it shows is the matter folder will show you matter notes. The client folder will show you all notes related to all of that client's matters and the client themselves. So really easy way to look at notes. I'm going to go ahead and turn those off. And next, let's take a look at bills. So we actually have a way in FasterSuite to look, or I'm sorry, in FasterDrive to look at bills that you have in Clio. And that is with this Clio bills folder. This is the next tab over bills under the Cloud Drive tab on the left. And you'll see we have a lot of settings here, but really the ones that we want to pay attention to are just these first three. This determines what format you see the bills in when you look at them in FasterDrive. So you can get them as HTML, CDA, or leads. I'm just going to use HTML just to show you this today. So I check that box and I hit save and close. Now, at multiple levels in FasterDrive, we will find a folder that says Clio bills. And what this Clio bills folder is going to show in it depends on where we enter the folder from. So I just went to it from the client folder. So this will show me all bills for that client. It'll show us the status, when it's due, the bill number. And if I open one of these, it'll actually open the bill as an HTML version. So we can attach it to emails, we can review it, whatever we want to do. If we go to the Clio bills folder from the status folder, then this will show us all of the bills for open matters. So depending on where we enter that Clio bills folder determines what exactly is going to show up in there. And conversely, we can actually go into a matter folder and view all of the bills related to a matter. In this case, I don't have any in this matter, so there's nothing that shows up here. So that's one really easy way of viewing bills, but there's actually one other thing we can do with this. If we go back to one of these Clio bills folders that shows some bills, actually I'm going to go one level out here and go to our status folder. Under the Documents tab on the ribbon, on the far right-hand side, you'll see Approve and Delete Void. And these are just some quick billing tools that you can use with this Clio bills folder. So for example, this bill here, bill number 49, we can see is awaiting payment. If I drag this bill up to Approve, that should, not sure why that didn't work. Let's try it one more time. Maybe let's try a different one. Well, it looks like I might have broken something on my computer. What it should do is actually just approve that bill in Clio. So I'm not sure why it's not working. Maybe if we try a more recent one. Oh, looks like we don't have. Here's one from about a year ago. Okay, I apologize. I'm not sure why this isn't working. I'll have to dig into this. Chances are it's something on my computer. I'm pretty rough on my computer since I do a lot of beta testing and QA testing. So I apologize about that. I can't show that. But what those buttons do is if we drag a bill up to it, it will actually approve the bill or it will void the bill. So it'll actually change the status of that bill in Clio. So you can do it right from FasterDrive instead of having to go into Clio and go to the bill and then change it from the drop down there. It's just a little bit easier to do it this way. So hopefully it can shave a few seconds off of things like that going forward. Yeah, that kind of covers all of the hyperlinks and virtual folders. So let's go ahead and move on to our Save Plus buttons. Now, this is something that you probably see every day, whether you're doing like email preservations or anything in FasterSuite. When we have any sort of entry window up like this, we'll see next to the Save button, we have Save Plus Time. And basically this button here, it defaults to Save Plus Time, but if we make a selection, we can actually click this drop down to see different options here. So there's save plus time, which is the one that is most heavily used. Then there's save plus expense, save plus task, save plus note, and save plus communication. And this is a way of piggybacking different activities off of each other. So, for example, let's say I wanted to save this time entry to Hannah Abraham. I have it, with some defaults that populated in here, so I didn't have to fill that stuff out. But normally, just selecting new time entry from up here will just bring up a blank entry. But since I had it filled out with defaults, I just select the matter, and I can do something from down here. Now, if I were to hit save plus time, what this would do is save this time entry, and then it would bring up another time entry with information from this time entry. Chances are we probably don't want to create two time entries, so I'm going to do something else. Let's do save plus note. If I click save plus note, it will create that time entry. There it is, time entry created, and it'll bring up a new note interface. And you'll see that it pulled in the description from the time entry, and it also pulled in the matter. So it fills some things in automatically if it can. It'll just pull whatever information from the previous window into the next window. So it's really easy to do a bunch of things at once. Here's my note subject, and maybe I want to assign a task to someone based on this time entry that I did. So I did the time entry. I can now do save plus task, and it'll actually create this note in Clio and then bring up our task interface, again, with the same information pulled into the new interface here with the same matter selected. So really easy way of chaining different activities together. We can just keep clicking the drop down and keep selecting things here until we're done. And whenever we are finished, on the last window here, instead of clicking any of these save plus buttons, we just hit save, and that will end that chain of actions. So really useful for doing multiple things. And there are a lot of settings that we can configure for these. If we go to our settings window and go to save plus new defaults on the left-hand side, we can actually configure what shows up in each of these fields on a new entry. So I had mentioned I have some defaults configured for my time entry. Here they are. This is where you would configure stuff like that. Now, the way I've seen this used most often is for saving time for emails as you do email preservations. So if let me grab just an email here. Sorry, one moment, I'm on another monitor here. So if I pull up an email preservation, you'll see that we have these same save plus buttons here. And if I select a matter, I can do save plus time right from the email preservation, and it will bring in whatever we have configured for our defaults here, just as a new time entry. And we can just really quickly save that 0.1 to that matter for reading or sending that email, and just kind of do both things at once. So really useful for chaining things together. Let's go ahead and move on though into faster scan. So as I mentioned, faster scan is a feature that's designed to help you import scanned documents into Clio automatically. So I'll kind of show you how it works. There's two ways to activate it. Number one is it will automatically activate when you scan documents if we configure it to. The other way to activate it is to use our button on the ribbon under migrations. It says import documents. And let's actually find a document here to import. Let's just do this conflict check here. So if I grab this document and I drag it up to the import documents button, that will activate faster scan. I'm sorry, maybe we have to. Well, you know what? I am having just all kinds of problems today. Sorry, one moment. I'm going to go ahead and restart Faster Suite here. I will let you know there is a bug that we are looking into currently. We should have it resolved within a few days. It has to do with email preservations and document preservations like we were about to look at. They seem to just intermittently stop working. It's not something that happens often, but it looks like it did happen to me here today. Either way, we are looking into it. It should hopefully be resolved soon. Let's see if restarting Faster Suite got this working again. Wow, this is embarrassing. Oh, probably because I don't have it turned on for Microsoft Word documents. Nope, that didn't get it. Okay, so I apologize. I guess I will just explain what this one does. So faster scan, when I click on that import documents button, or when I drag a document up to it, what it would do is bring up a window that looks a lot like our email preservation window, except it'll have the document in there. So it would look just similar to this, except it would show the document up here, and it would have an option for folders to save into in the top right. So we can choose the folder that the document would scan into, and we can select a matter that it would save to as well. We could then rename the document if we'd like, and then just hit save to have it move directly into Clio for that matter into that folder. Now, that's the manual way of activating that, is with the import documents button here. The other way to do it is to do it using the automatic folder watch that we have built into FasterScan. So let's try this and see if it works. I'm going to create a folder here that says scans. And the reason we do this is because your scanner is not designed, most likely not designed to select a folder from a network location to scan into. So the way FasterScan works is we set it up to watch a folder that your scanner does scan into. In this case, I would set up my scanner to scan into this scans folder. We then just take this, this folder path here, and we're going to plug it into our FasterScan settings. So we go up to Faster Suite, we click on Settings, and it's under Scanning on the left-hand side, and this right here is where we tell it what folders we want it to watch. So by default, it's going to watch your Downloads folder, your Documents folder, and your desktop, and anytime a new document shows up on one of those, it will prompt you and say, I see you just got a new document, do you want to save it into Clio? So that'd be useful if like you're downloading PDFs off of a government website. When you download that and it goes to your Downloads folder, it'll pop up and say, do you want to move this to a matter in Clio? In this case, we're looking at scans. So I'm just going to put that file path that I copied from that folder into this box here where it says any of the following folders. So I'll just paste that there. And when I hit save, now FasterScan knows that we should be importing documents to Clio when they show up in this folder. So the process here would be I go to scan a document. It puts it into this folder in Windows, in the scans folder on my desktop. But FasterScan sees that happen, and it'll then pop up that window that we weren't able to see before. So let's see if we can get this to work this way. I'm going to open up this test doc that I have here and actually just save it as a PDF into that other folder, and we'll see if it activates FasterScan. So we save that there. In the scans folder, we get our PDF. And looks like we are not going to get the pop-up. So again, I apologize. I'll have to do some digging into why this isn't working here. It was working for me earlier when I was testing this out and preparing for the webinar. So I apologize about that. It should be working for you. Again, if it is this bug that I was thinking of, it's not something that happens very often. But that's what FasterScan does. We would then be able to, once it shows up in here, we would be able to change the name of the scan document, since it probably shows up as something like the date and then just like a random number. You can rename that and then choose the folder in Faster Suite that it goes to. Now there is one other setting that I would want to cover here. If we go back to scanning in our settings, under cleanup, we have this box here that says delete the file from my computer, and we can either check or uncheck this in our settings here. If we have this box checked, then after we import this document to Clio using FasterScan, it will actually delete it from this folder so that your scans folder here doesn't get really cluttered with duplicates of things that we have in Clio. You can alternatively uncheck the box, and then you'll just have a copy that's saved here in addition to the one that gets imported to Clio. So it's up to you what you do with this setting. I would recommend checking the box just because there's really no point to having it saved in two places. Once we run it through FasterScan, it'll be saved in Clio, so we don't need it in our scans folder anymore. And that'll just kind of keep us up to date, and we'll know exactly what has and has not been imported to Clio. Let's go ahead and move on to Click to Call. So Click to Call, as I mentioned before, is a feature that will let you click on phone numbers and it will dial those numbers automatically using whatever voice over IP system you use. So I personally use Skype. I would be able to use Click to Call. If you use Vonage or RingCentral or really any VoIP, you should be able to use Click to Call. Now, if you just have like a normal phone system, it's a phone on your desk, Click to Call might not be useful for you, but if you're using a voice over IP, I'll show you how to set this up. So Click to Call, the settings for this are going to be, as always, in our settings window here under Advanced, and then Click to Call across the top. So you'll see, number one, we have Enable Click to Call, And then we have just a blank box here. It says, when a phone number is clicked, run the following PowerShell script. So this is what click to call does, is when we click on a phone number, it tells click to call to run this PowerShell script. Now, to show you kind of how to configure this and how to configure click to call in general, I'm actually going to pull up our knowledge base. We have an article on this that walks you through it. So if I go to help and then click on search support, that will bring up our knowledge base. So if you weren't aware of that, really useful. A lot of information here in our help center. And again, that's help, search support. So really useful link there. In this case, I'm just going to type in configure, if I could type, configure click to call. And that will bring up this article right here. So configuring click to call, there's a few things that we have to do. So number one, we have to set click to call as the default protocol handler for phone numbers. And that's actually done right through Windows. The way to do this is described here, but basically we would just want to set tell and call to, which are two different protocols on our computer, to use faster suite click to call. Just to briefly run you through this, we would just click on our start button, type in protocol, and then this option here, choose a default app for each protocol. So in this list, again, we're looking for call to and tell. It might take just a second to populate here. So we scroll down, we find call to on the left. We make sure it's set to faster suite click to call. And then we scroll even further down to tell and make sure that's set to click to call as well. So what that's doing is if we look in Clio and we go to a phone number here, if I hover over this phone number, you'll see in the bottom left, it says tell : and then the phone number. So that's what your computer is looking at, is that's the protocol for when we click on a phone number like this. And so what happens is when we click on this phone number, it says, I want to use faster suite click to call, since that's what we have it set to. And if we click on this, it'll actually run that PowerShell script that is configured in our settings. Now, you'll notice it didn't do anything, and that's because I actually haven't set up the script here. And this is the part of this that's going to get a little bit advanced. And I'm not going to cover it really in detail. Most likely, I guess, or rather, probably what would be best is if you have like your IT guy or an IT person configure this script for you. We have a few examples of this on our website. So if we go back to this configuring click to call page here, and we scroll down, we'll see that we have some sample scripts here. And these are scripts that users of click to call have configured, or their IT people have configured, and then they send them over to us just to put here for other people to use. So we have several here. So Skype is on here, Vonage, a few others. So if one of you use any of those, you can actually just come in here, and what we would do is just copy the script for the program that we're using. So I just grabbed, which one was this, new Skype. We just copy that, and we can paste it into the PowerShell script here. So this actually won't work for me because there are a couple of things that you have to customize in some cases. So in this case, if we scroll all the way to the bottom here, we'll see that it's looking at this file path to run Skype. Mine's actually saved in a different location. I would have to come in here and update this in order for it to work. So if I were to save this and then click on a phone number, it still wouldn't work. There might be certain things in these scripts that you'll have to customize. Most commonly would be the location of the program that you want to run. But if we kind of take a close look at these, this might look like gibberish, but basically what it's doing is it's taking the phone number that we click and putting it together into a format that the program can use. It then plugs that number in and just tells it to dial it. So again, this is something that you would probably want to have your IT person configure. This is not something that we configure for you, but we do have some samples here that have been sent to us. So if you have any questions about how it works, things like that, certainly let us know. But if you want someone to configure the script for you, I would recommend talking to your IT person. Excuse me. But once we set that up, we would be able to just save it. In this case, again, I'm not going to save since that won't work for me. And then we would just be able to click on the phone number in Clio to dial it automatically. Now, if we go back to our settings, we will see there's another option here that says when a phone number is clicked, automatically start recording a transcription. And what this would do is bring us right into our meeting transcriber. So if we use click to call and we dial a number by clicking on it, it'll automatically start a meeting, our meeting transcriber, just to record that phone call and then transcribe it. So I'll show you a little bit about what this does. This is something that you can use separately from click to call as well. So you can automatically launch it with click to call, but you can also start it manually. The way we would do that is, let's say and actually it would actually record me right now. So let's go ahead and just start it. I'm going to go up to new on the ribbon. And on the right-hand side, we see meeting transcriber. If we click on this, it brings up this interface, and you'll see it is now recording. It says duration 4, 5, 6, etc. This will let you record anything that runs into or out of your computer. So since I'm using Zoom for this webinar and I'm using my computer audio, it actually is recording what I'm saying right now. We have a couple options on the left. I can click off the record and it'll stop recording. But if I click recording again, it'll start recording again. Now, also in this screen, we can enter a subject for the transcription. So this would be, call with John Smith 226 or something like that. And then any additional notes. We were talking about, whatever. Now, the really interesting thing about this meeting transcriber is this part down here. It says transcribe this recording with up to 10 speakers. Our meeting transcriber will identify multiple speakers in the audio. So if I'm talking to someone, whenever I say something, the transcription of the audio will say, at this time in the audio, speaker 1 said this. Then if the person I'm talking to says something, it'll say, at this time in the audio, speaker 2 said this. And it'll transcribe the entire thing as like a chat style log, and it'll tell you exactly where in the audio each sentence takes place. So it's really easy to read through and just really easy to navigate. It's not just a big block of text like you get from some transcription services. Now, whenever we're done recording and we put in our subject and notes and anything like that we want to configure here, all we do is just hit next, and it'll have us select the matter that this recording is related to. So we would just select something like Aaron Aronson's flat fee matter and hit next. This is where it actually saves the recording and transcribes the audio. Now, I will let you know, this process can take a while. So it's basically going to take about 1 minute for every minute of audio that you have to transcribe it. So if you have an hour-long phone call, it'll take probably an hour to transcribe that audio. If you were recording audio that was less than a minute, it'll probably still take about a minute or two to transcribe it. So if it's really, really short, at least a couple minutes. If it's really long, then about a minute per minute of audio. I don't want you to have to wait while this is transcribing. So I actually have in a folder here, a transcription that was already done previously. So I'll go to Aronson v. Johnson. It saves it into, I'm going to go to Arsenault for Sheds. It'll save it into a folder that says audio transcriptions here. And if we go into the folder where it saves it, you'll see that each transcription has a Word document and an MP3. So the MP3 is the actual audio file of the recording, and the Word document is the actual transcription. So if I open that up, this is what it looks like. It'll say, here's the audio transcription. It was recorded by this person at this date and time. And then here's our subject and notes that we typed in. This is one that I had done a little earlier this year. So it's different than what I just typed in, but this is what it looks like. So it says at 5 seconds in the audio, speaker 0 said, here's a test of the meeting transcriber. And then I was testing using on the record. I then turned it off. It did not record anything while I had it turned off. And then I turned it back on and said, testing, testing. I just went off the record, but now I'm back. So this is what it looks like. It'll break it up into little snippets here. And again, it would identify multiple speakers if there are multiple people in the audio. So if there's just 2 people, it's not going to, like, every time the voice changes, add a new speaker. It will actually switch back between speaker 0 and speaker 1 and speaker 0 and speaker 1. So really useful for taking notes. If you don't like to type out notes or write down notes when you're meeting with people, you can just set up a microphone connected to your computer and run this meeting transcriber. Or if you use a voice over IP, you can run this during your phone calls to record conversations as well. That way you just always have a record that you can go back to. All right, so that covers really the 5 things that I wanted to talk about today. As I mentioned, there are a bunch of other things in Faster Suite that can really help in a lot of different ways. Again, I would recommend our training videos here. So if we pull this up, you'll see it's organized into document management, communication management, financial management, and then creating things with Faster Suite. So if I wanted to look at communication management, I can just click that here. And then we've got short videos for all of our stuff for communication management, like faster mail prompting settings, etc. Faster Pacer, if you want to learn how that works. Here's a video on click to call. All kinds of short videos here for all of our different features. So really, really great place to learn about all the different things that Faster Suite can do for you. We've got a bunch of features, so we've got a bunch of videos. Again, each one is pretty short. We realize your time is valuable, so we try to keep them under like 2 to 3 minutes. But that really covers everything that I wanted to point out. So let's go ahead and move on, and we'll take a look and see if we had any questions come up. Let's see here. Oh, and Wendy had pointed out when I was trying to approve a bill earlier, that's right, I was grabbing one that was awaiting payment. I would need to grab one that's in draft status. Let's actually see if I can find one here. We'll go into open. Do I still have Clio bills turned on? I do. And we've got deleted, void. Here's a draft bill. So if we drag this up to approve, there it goes. All bills successfully converted. And if we do a quick refresh of Faster Suite, and then, wow, ribbon's acting kind of weird. And then refresh the bills folder here. I probably should have paid attention to which bill number that was, but it would change it from draft to awaiting payment. Alternatively, we can, let's say we have a draft bill here that we don't want to use. This is bill 169. We drag that up to delete void, and it will apparently take a second here. All bills successfully updated. If we refresh again and then refresh the folder, bill 169 should be, once it's done refreshing here, now deleted instead of as a draft bill. Let's see here. So Dimitri asked, you mentioned Ring Central as being available, but the Help Center doesn't have example script for Ring Central. So we actually don't have a sample script for Ring Central. No one has configured one and shared it with us. And this is something that we don't do this basically. There are, dozens of different voice over IPs out there. And I guess our stance is we're not going to configure a script for every single one. That's why we recommend having an IT person configure one for you. It's just a PowerShell script that they would need to configure. It shouldn't be too terribly difficult. I personally don't know how to do it, but an IT person would. So if you do get one set up for Ring Central, go ahead and share it with us, and then we can go ahead and post it on our site so other people can use that as well. But we just don't have a sample for Ring Central currently. But if you get one set up, it should work, and you can click on phone numbers to launch the call through Ring Central. So that is all the questions that it looks like we have right now. I'll pause here for 10 or 15 seconds and see if anything else comes in. Alrighty, and looks like no other questions are coming in, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. There are a couple of other things that I like to mention. Number one is you can install a trial of Faster Suite. So if you're not currently using Faster Suite and some of the stuff you saw today looks interesting, go to fasterlaw.com/download. We offer a 7-day free trial. It is fully featured, so you'll have access to everything for 7 days. You can try everything out with Clio, see if it helps you out. And if not, we don't actually store anything, so you can always just remove it. And anything that you've done with Faster Suite will still be stored in Clio. If you missed part of today's webinar, or you missed any of our previous ones, or you just want to go back and refresh yourself on them, this URL here, help.fasterlaw.com/all this other stuff, our full webinar archive, which is actually more easily accessible through our search support button here. We have an archive of all of our previous webinars, and today's webinar will be on there before the end of the day. So definitely check out there to see what else we've covered. If you like Faster Suite, if you're liking these webinars, definitely share it with your friends. I'm sure they'll thank you when they find out, oh, I'm saving a bunch more time when I'm using Faster Suite, or I've learned so much after watching these webinars. So definitely tell your friends if you think Faster Suite or these webinars are useful. And if you need absolutely anything related to Faster Suite, contact us at help@fasterlaw. help@fasterlaw.com. Anything you need related to Faster Suite. It could be questions, it could be feedback, it could be a feature request. Anything you need, this is the email address to use. As far as what's coming up, we don't have a whole lot scheduled at this time. Next week, I'm going to be out of the office, so we don't have a webinar next Wednesday. But the week following, we are going to be doing an Ask Me Anything with Tony, Josh, and myself. So this should be a really fun one. Show up, ask us anything you want. It should be really informational for both, for both you and for us. You can learn about Faster Suite or learn about us personally. And then we can kind of learn what you guys are interested in seeing and that sort of thing. So it'll go both ways. Should be fun for everyone, hopefully. But that really is all we have scheduled for now. So that really wraps up everything. So thanks for attending. Today's episode, again, was number 11, Maximize Your Clio Efficiency. Certainly let us know if there's anything we can do, help@fasterlaw.com. And this is Andrew Suter signing off. You guys have a good rest of the week.